Can I do this without glasses, with glasses or not?
Up to you.
All right, I'll put them on, take them off. Yeah, that's great. Go. Thank you.
Despite the glasses, this really is David Hasselhoff.
Hoff or not, it's the Hoff. I'm not the Hoff.
David, when did you become a parent? And in addition to being an actor, singer, and celebrity, you were also a brand.
Back about 10 years ago, I get a call from the Sydney Telegraph saying, "How do you feel about being a sex symbol at 50?" I said, "Well, I don't know how to answer that." And they said there's a viral epidemic of emails going back and forth from secretaries about Hoffisms. I said, "What are Hoffisms?" They said, "Well, they've taken people like Braver, like Brave Hoff, and they made him into Braver Hoff, and they've taken Brigitte Hoff and made him into Brigitte Hoff, and Desperate Hoff Wives, and the Hoff is Hoff-tastic. He's Hoffalicious. He's off the charts. He has the Hoff father. He goes to Hoffinity and beyond, off to see the wizard." It just goes on and on, and I thought it was quite funny. So I flew down to Australia to do a couple television shows, and they asked me this on the air, trying to kind of, have it on with me. And I said, "Well, I know how to work with these boys." And I said, "Don't hassle the Hoff." Thereby, went through the roof, and suddenly I was the king of Australia, and they, because I gave it right back to them. And then I was jogging around Sydney Harbour Park, and cars were stopping and going, "Hoff, Hoff." I'm going, this is so bizarre. And then all of a sudden I started getting offers to be the Hoff in viral commercials. And since that happened, I've embraced it, and I've made up jokes about it. I've had some fun. And we've now had 34 commercials, and I'm on my way to do another one today.
So is managing the Hoff brand a full-time job now?
It's absolutely a full-time job. As a matter of fact, I have a new manager, and I keep saying to him, "Your job is to manage my career, not just answer the phone with all the Hoffisms." And he's had a hell of a time just staying on top of how many different commercials. I like to diversify. I like anything and everything. I like to improvise. I think it's part of one of the reasons the brands are successful is because we don't know what we're doing next. And it's really people. It's not me that invents these commercials. I mean, we did one commercial in Norway where you could actually go to Facebook and I could put your picture in the commercial. So I could rescue you in a mall and give you back your wallet and your license because I went to Facebook and I found your picture. And they actually would put your house in there. And so it was brilliant what these guys are doing. And now we're doing commercials that are kind of behind the scenes of the making of commercial and letting that go out. And it's a brilliant way for advertisers to advertise and not have to spend any money because the world just picks up on the fun and puts it out.
And what was your reaction when the folks at Golan told you that you were a classic brand?
I thought that was cool. I thought, does classic mean that I'm old? I thought about my my 190 SL, which is 1960, or my 65 Mustang. I was thinking, well, those are classics, and I thought, does that mean, classic, then they said, means enduring. I said, no, I think classic means that you're still alive. You just lived through all the BS and the bad press. So I think that it's cool. I really do. I go through the Majestic Hotel and I look at all these pictures, and my heart melts. I mean, it really does. I know a lot of those people. I got to hang around with Paul Newman. We had a racing team together. And to me, I'm old Hollywood, and I kind of identify with the old Rat Pack group of guys. And even though they were a little bit older than me, maybe 10, 15 years, I've always wanted to do Dean Martin. Now I'm doing my own talk show in Sweden and Norway and Finland. And it's kind of like being Dean Martin. So I identify with that. So I think that classic makes me feel really kind of cool.
Okay. Now, you have 500,000 followers on Twitter, I think. Your photo bomb on April Fool's Day was a huge phenomenon.
30 million.
Were you a little surprised to find out that you weren't engaging?
Yeah, I really didn't know exactly what engaging is. I know that when I do, even though I have only 500,000 or some odd on Twitter, if I put a picture out, I know where that's going to go. It's going to go to 100 million in the Daily Mail. It's going to go to every newspaper around the world. Twitter for me has been great because I'm able to kind of rebut what the press says or have some fun. Just recently they said I got a ticket. I didn't get a ticket, but I made a joke about, I got stopped by a cop, and I told the cop it wasn't me that was driving, it was the kit car. But I never said I got a ticket. I didn't get a ticket. And when they put the article out, I hadn't even begun the gumball rally. I was on top of a car. I said, how could I get a ticket if I'm riding in a parade? But I let them run it because it was funny. And I had 20 people stop me on the street going, that was pretty funny what you said. And then about, after Nissan called me and I was driving a GTR, did you get a ticket? I said, no. And then I tweeted, no, I didn't get a ticket. I was surprised about the engaging, but the engaging comes when I was on Knight Rider, when I was on Baywatch, when I was on America's Got Talent, when I had access to the audience weekly, millions of people. Then the engaging comes. I'm very proud about the entertaining because I think people get a good laugh, and I do everything from, I've done one-man shows, Broadway shows, one-man shows to like last night. I followed freaking Iron Maiden at a heavy metal concert, Prodigy, Black Sabbath, and David Hasselhoff, and it was 100,000 people, and I was crying because I couldn't believe that it's still going on.
The other thing that was interesting to me was the young demographic that's got involved, and I know my niece, when I told her that I was going to be seeing you, immediately jumped on the SpongeBob SquarePants thing. I know that's given you a whole new audience. How exciting has that been?
Well, it's very exciting. It's also given me a great lesson. If you stay current with the kids, you're going to be current with the kids. The kids are going to grow up, and it just moves on to a new generation. I played David Hasselhoff, was in live action in a cartoon. And to this day, kids stop me all over the world also in this show called Hoff. I was Hoff Knows Talent. Russell Brand was the animated rabbit. These kids stop me, and they get into the Hoff, and they research. And it makes me, I love being, I went to the European MTV Awards 4 times in a row, and last time I was there was Selena Gomez was with Justin Bieber, and says, Justin Bieber, he's crazy about you. And so I said, hey Justin, I got Bieber fever. And he says, well, you should go to the hospital. And so that was our first exchange, and I went, yeah, it's great, he's my neighbor. So it's really fun to have the kids. I love the kids. I do Panto every year in London. And we've broken all attendance records. I play Hoff the Hook, because the first show I ever did was Peter Pan. And I see those kids in me. And when I go there and I do that show, I look at those kids and I say, that's why I'm here. That's me. When I'm 7, I'm 61, but that's me. And I never take it for granted, even though it's 2 shows a day. Kind of like today. Today's like 2 shows today, yeah.
And is there anything in particular that you'd like to get out of this, that you'd like to see happen to the Hoff brand as a result of all this activity?
If I could hook up with like a major sponsor that would sponsor me around the world, I talked to Google. I drove the self-driving car. Sergey came up to me and said, I said 30 years later you got the self-driving car. I said, I should drive the self-driving car around the world, and for peace. And talk about how entertainment, music, sports brings the world together, and how we all are the same. I realize it. I got people from Iraq, from Iran, stopping me, from Afghanistan, Syria, places that are all, in turmoil, Kiev, Ukraine, and they all have one thing in common. They just all love Baywatch and Knight Rider, and that's a great thing.